Mousetrap and the Laird.
That's the hungriest seagull I've ever seen. I reckon it's the hungriest seagull in the world. You should give him one of your chips, said Ethan. You should give him one of your chips, and I think it's a girl seagull, replied Hazel. Ethan, playing for time on the chip question, agreed it may well be a girl seagull. They were both holding packages of steaming hot, salty chips close to their chests. Steam came with their breath, too. The cold was part of the adventure. We could both give her a chip. Hazel smiled at her friend. He really was a nice boy. For a boy. The world's hungriest seagull scarfed both chips in seconds, living up to her nickname. I wonder why she's so cold and hungry. I've never seen a seagull like this before, said Hazel. Only one leg too, nodded Ethan. In silent agreement, they both fed one more chip each to their new friend, the still very hungry world's hungriest seagull. Looking out onto the bay, Ethan had a sudden thought. Remember that day we were out on your uncle's boat, picking up and cleaning birds after the big oil leak? That was the day we met, was it? Boys really are hopeless, thought Hazel. Do you remember that one seagull we reached for but it just floated away before we could get to it? Completely covered in black oil. I wonder, do you think this might be her? Asked Hazel. Then, to the seagull, I'm sorry, girl. We did our best. We tried to help. We just couldn't help everyone. Another 2 chips were offered in compensation to the world's hungriest seagull. I reckon she couldn't swim or fly because the oil was stuck to her. So she just floated and floated out of the bay and out into the ocean. Then floated and floated. Floated and floated and floated and floated until she reached Antarctica, shouted Hazel, scaring Ethan and the seagull. Oh, and Penguin saw a black and white bird and she could only waddle, not walk, because she was so stuck together with oil. And the penguins took her in as one of their own. She made penguin friends. Good for her. And played penguin games, sliding on the ice and snowball fights. And they fed her and helped her get well again. And 2 more chips were dispensed, this time with silly penguin waddling and laughing and smiling eyes. But over time the oil started to wash off and left her feeling cold because she's not really made for penguin temperatures. The penguins felt sad but knew they had to let their new friend go home. I think they put her on an iceberg, then all got behind it and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed that iceberg towards, well, here. And she floated and floated and floated and floated back into our little bay. She's home. And now we'll be her friends and come back here to share our chips with her to make sure she's okay, said Ethan. Yes, we will, agreed Hazel happily. I bet the iceberg was so cold that she had to keep changing which foot she stood on. Then one night on the long journey she fell asleep and one leg was frozen off. Is that why some seagulls only have one leg? asked Hazel. I think so, replied Ethan. They both chipped the last crumbs of their chips onto the ground near the hungriest seagull in the world, screwed up the paper, then laughed as they both threw and missed the bin and had to pick up their paper balls and try again. The streetlights are coming on. We'd better get you home before your mum freaks out. Your mum too. True. The hand I took out of my glove to feed the world's hungriest seagull is freezing. Mine too. He held out his hand. She took it. They walked towards their homes. Boys can be okay, thought Hazel. They both looked over their shoulders at the world's hungriest seagull, smiled at their new friend, smiled at each other, felt the warmth of each other's hands, felt the warmth of kindness and love in the world.
Mousetrap and the Laird is supported by some to keep it free for all. For details, please see the show notes.